And here we see the glorious life form known as the crab. But oh, what's this on his back?
I'm Crab Rykard. I fed myself to a crab. Join us as family. Together we will blow bubbles and devour femboys.
Hello and welcome back to the Troglodyte channel. As you may know, the Elden Ring DLC recently released, and it's fantastic. But there have been a few people that have been complaining, mostly about the difficulty. The bosses have varied and agile movesets, they do huge damage, even the regular enemies can kill you quite easily, and there's a bunch of these furnace buttholes wandering around the lands that can kill you and your horse very quickly, as you have seen. So being intimidated by these complaints as I was, I decided to add myself some reinforcements before doing my first playthrough of this DLC. And these reinforcements are going to come in the form of crabs. There's no crab spirit ash in the base game, so I've modified the Miranda Sprout spirit ashes to be 5 giant crabs instead. I've tried to scale them to match what they would be if they were a plus 10 spirit ash, and with 5 of them they're quite strong. So will the DLC still live up to the difficulty hype with these 5 crustaceans on my side? Let's find out.
I once fought alongside General Radahn.
Ooh, I hate to break it to you, but he was caught DMing an underage femboy. I'll be using Rykard's sword throughout most of this playthrough because with the Shard of Alexander equipped, my lord that weapon art is powerful. When I did this entire playthrough blind, it was my first playthrough of the DLC, and you'll see me doing some optional areas, like the area I'm in right now, where you get to the magical beast at the end. I think this area is totally optional. And at this point, I was unaware of the Erdtree fragment mechanic that made you stronger, so I was getting chunked by pretty much every enemy, and my solution ended up being just running through everything, which was surprisingly easy. Before long, I made it to the boss of the area, only to discover that he's a man wearing a beast mask. And this makes Elden Ring's second documented case of a furry after Blythe. Now, on to the fight itself. And this was before I used any of those Spirit Ash DLC upgrade items on the crabs, so they really weren't all that strong. You can see them doing pretty good damage and being a pretty good distraction, but for the most part the Divine Beast is really messing them up. He even managed to kill all 5 crabs. I was really impressed with this boss. But unfortunately for him, one of the crabs did manage to survive like 99% of the fight, and this was just barely enough for me to get the win. I squeaked it out and I downed the Divine Beast on my first attempt. As a reward, I decided to feed my crabbies some of those fly enemies from Dark Souls 3 that they for some reason decided to reuse here. After upgrading the crabs to Blessing level 2, I adopted a new strategy of just being the cleric of the crabs and watching them just bulldoze everything in front of them while I heal them. They were really unstoppable this way. Yeah, screw tortoises. Team crabs for life! Ah, shoot. Almost thought I found a use for Elden Stars. And here you'll get a great opportunity to see what combat is like with 5 crabs on your side. It's pretty much me, the cleric, standing behind the 5 crabs as they all mob the boss. Well, that, and also me doing Rykard's sword's weapon art into a mob of crabs. Rellana put up a good fight, but 2 crabs were able to survive the whole time, and they even vaped on her dying body to flex on her. Good job, crabbies! After this, I was feeling confident that me and the crabbies could take on the furnace golem, but man was I wrong. After this, the crabs had a snack of some NPCs, and then we made our way into the jar cave to find out what was really inside those jars in Elden Ring. And it turns out it's just a bunch of people fused into one ball of flesh and crammed in a jar. How creative! Anyway, there's a boss at the end of this place, but I couldn't see what it was. It's all just a bunch of crabs that I could see the back of as they were fighting. They beat him into the dirt easy peasy. For pity's sake, your place is in the jar. Hey, that's what I said to my My Little Pony figurine. So then, after running past some explodey 9/11 boys, I made it outside to this pig boss where he caught me off guard. I seriously was not expecting a boss fight after walking outside into such a large area. And ooh boy, it is a tough one. He does massive damage and is constantly barraging you with attacks. I actually nearly beat him first try thanks to the crabs and the fact that he's weak to fire and I was using a fire weapon. Very tragic death right here. He immediately charges you when you enter the fall gate. You don't even have time to spirit summon. And then he can clean you up shortly after that because he does such massive damage. He killed me a good few times even with the help of the crabs, which is just a testament to how strong he is. Good job, Crabbies. On to the next one. Then, after this boss fight, there's a bowl right in front of the Shadow Tree. And I'm sure there's some complicated lore reason for this bowl, like it's the sacred bowl of Miquella's butt cheeks or something. But it beats me. Giant feet that you have to walk on. Real subtle, Miyazaki. Radahn is really saying some questionable things to Miquella right now. On to Impaler Mesmer. Now, if you don't know, the lore of this fight is that Marika had an emo son, but instead of dealing with it in a healthy way, she banished him into the Shadow Realm Yu-Gi-Oh style, and thus here we are. Oh, and instead of cutting himself like a normal emo, he just pulls out his eyeball and explodes it. Very hardcore. And this fight did not go well for me the first time. Mostly because I was trying to use a fire weapon against a fire boss, and that was just not smart at all. But then again, my channel name is Troglodyte, so did you really expect intelligence? Coming back for a second attempt with Marika's hammer this time and a bunch of holy damage boosting items, he was much easier. Cursing his mother with his last breath. He really was an emo. After killing Mesmer, I rewarded the crabs with a light snack of one golden hippo, which they ate up with glee. I tried to fight the furnace golem again, to no avail. Then we made it to Romina, Saint of the Bud. And the only thing I have to say about that is wood. Anyway, as you can see, she was able to penetrate me once, but I was able to kill her first try on account of the fact that she's extremely weak to fire. Take a look at this. Almost 4,700 damage in one hit. That is absurd. If you're having any trouble with this boss at all, just use fire. Okay, Crabbies, don't eat this corpse. Daddy needs a turn with it first. Then, much like the base game, we have to commit an act of arson to unlock the final area. The following area was surprisingly easy. These buttholes gave me a little bit of trouble, as you can see, but there was only one that I needed to fight without the help of the crabs. Yes, sick 'em, Crabbies! So after making it through that brief area, it was time to take on the femboy cult and prove once and for all that liking femboys is in fact gay. Let me give you the context. These three think it's hetero to like Miquella, i.e. a femboy, because he has feminine traits. But I say, no, XY chromosomes makes you gay. Anyway, on to the fight itself. It's basically just a triple NPC fight, nothing truly special. It was funny that the crabs were able to do the grab attack on them successfully a couple times. But other than that, it was just a matter of keeping the crabs healthy and spamming the weapon art for Rykard's sword and ba-ding ba-dang ba-doom, first try. They did put up a decent fight, mostly because they have an obscene amount of HP for NPCs, probably the most I've ever seen. They were able to kill 2 of the crabs. But after killing them, and after waiting through a short elevator ride, it was time to have my showdown with the permanent child and his consort. Upon entering the final boss arena, we discover that Miquella's promised consort is none other than Radahn. And my theory for why Radahn was his promised consort is because Radahn loved fighting and he would be the best guy to carry Miquella around and dominate other lands, and then Miquella would put his love spell on them, and then soon everyone would be under the spell, and thus the world would be a much gentler place. And phase 2 of this fight is no joke. Radahn and Miquella whooped me and my crabs' butts probably 20 times. He rushes you like the millisecond you walk through the fog wall, so summoning your ashes, you have to be spamming the button and forget about buffing them, because he's already on you by the time you would be doing that. The strategy I eventually settled on was keeping the crabs as high health as possible in phase 1, that way I would have help in phase 2. I'm really glad I had the help of the crabs in this fight, because I have a couple of challenge runs planned for this DLC coming up, and I am not looking forward to fighting this boss alone or as a Reddit mod. Oh, and another thing. One of the crabs kept clipping through the floor, so I was only working with 4 crabs. This would have went a lot smoother if I had my 5 crabs. So yeah, even with my completely overpowered crab spirit ashes, this boss was tough. Nothing I'm not really used to though at this point. The Elden Beast I put in over 200 attempts as a Reddit mod, and this boss only took me 20 attempts with the crabs, so it really wasn't that bad from a challenging perspective. It just goes to show how powerful this boss really is. Oh, and it took me a few attempts to realize that when he jumps in the air, you have to instantly start running away from where you were standing. Otherwise, the resulting explosion is a guaranteed kill somehow. Ah yes, finally, we've downed them and proven once and for all that femboy incest is wrong. It's weird though, the Deathblight one always seems to be the surviving crab. Well done. After beating the boss, we are graced with a memory of a psychotic narcissist child who thinks he's going to be a deity. A bit of an anticlimactic end to the grand adventure of Elden Ring, but there you go. Oh, and we get a cool hat. The end. Well, that concludes today's videos. The crabs did make it significantly easier than it otherwise would have been. But what do y'all think? Was the DLC too hard? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and if you want to enjoy more content like this, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time. Oh, and by the way, you can give a Spirit Ash blessing to your Spirit Ashes in the DLC to power them up. I only had them at +4 for the Radahn fight because at +10, take a look at how much damage they're doing to this poor bear. Anyway, bye for now.